You know what, everybody? I've lost count of episodes. I think this is episode 6 of the JT Puck Talk podcast. Am I
Yeah.
correct, Thomas?
No, you're not correct. It's
I'm
5.
Oh, 5. Episode
Five
5.
episodes.
We're off to a blazing start here. Welcome back, everybody. As always, I'm Justin alongside Thomas, and today we're not talking trades. Surprisingly, I think it's one of the first episodes that we're not talking trades. Um, Not a super eventful week in the NHL, but there were a couple little things and a couple certain games that stroked some interest. And we're going to start off with the fiasco that was last Thursday in Long Island. Thomas, tell us about the scene. Because I really,
Yes.
honestly, I couldn't watch the game. I'll be frankly honest. I was away from all mobile devices.
Yeah, so I was actually playing a ball hockey game during the first period. I didn't see the video ceremony that he had, but yeah, after that, I just heard booing from the Islanders fans, as like you should expect from them. I mean, I didn't agree with everything that the Islanders fans did,
No.
but I mean, what do you think? Like, I,
No. Well, I also wasn't able to watch the first period, so you're listening to two people who didn't actually see the game live. But I watched multiple highlights. I've read multiple articles. Look, I get it. They're upset. The superstar player, the captain of the team, ditched, and he ditched on them for his hometown team. Us as Leafs fans, we're like, yay. But I do understand that the Islanders fans are pissed. They have every right to be pissed. That's fine. However, you can boo him. You can do whatever you want. Don't throw stuff at him.
yeah,
Come
that's
on.
unacceptable. Yeah.
How much money you paid for a ticket? Honestly, not that much. Congratulations, the Islanders. We helped you sell out one of the only games you would all season. However, these guys pay money to get into the game. Throw stuff at the player. Probably get ejected right away before the opening puck drop.
Yeah, it was in
Now,
warm up.
were you mad enough at John Tavares to spend like $150 just to do that? You didn't even hit him. You threw plastic snakes around him, and someone threw a jersey, and that was one of the worst throws ever. Just hit the guy. Like, it's brutal.
Yeah.
So whoever those guys are, like find something better to do with your time. I get the Islanders are like they were first in the Metro. They're not anymore for the because Capitals are, but if you got, I mean, I'm sorry, this is gonna sound passive aggressive. If the Islanders think that they're a better franchise or in a better position now without Tavares than they were with him, or they think they're a better team than the Toronto Maple Leafs are, you're delusionalists. You are like that team. That's great. You had as many points as the Maple Leafs. That's fine. You don't have like put us up against you in a 7-game series. We're destroying you.
Ooh, that's a hot
And
take.
it is a hot take, but your team's not in a fantastic position.
No, I would agree.
You're not. You're not as good as you're playing. You have a great defensive coach who's helping this team win. Good on Barry Trotz. You have a goaltender, Robin Lehner, who's having a career year. If he wasn't having a career year, I would argue you guys aren't even a playoff team. Like,
I'm,
congratulations. You've beat the Maple Leafs 2 times in a row. Congratulations. The Leafs
yeah,
have an
but a
odd thing
beat
of
down.
the Leafs have an odd way of playing down to their opponent. We beat the good teams, we lose to the bad teams. I'm not worried that we lose to the Islanders. This is about the Islanders fans here, and they're just being jerks. This guy's donated 9 years of his life to charities in Long Island, helping kids in Long Island. And when the time came down to it, he said, "You know what? My family's back in Toronto. My wife is from Toronto. I'm from Toronto. That team's in a great spot. I have a good role there. I've given 9 years to this team. We've won one playoff series in a quarter of a century, and it was basically all on John Tavares' back."
Yeah. The thing, like, I don't understand, like, you can boo him all you want during the game, yeah, that's fine, but during the video ceremony is just like, I mean, you saw some fans clapping and cheering, but like, man, you just don't do that in a video ceremony for a player that's, like you said, dedicated 9 years of his life, and he's arguably the best player in that 9 years for the Islanders.
Oh, he's
So
by far the best player in those 9 years for the Islanders. And honestly, I don't think John Tavares gave a damn crap
I don't think,
about
yeah, he didn't look phased.
what the fans thought. I thought that he cared about the reception he got from management for doing that, and the other players on that team,
Yeah,
um, who were all clapping or all tapping their sticks for him. I think that's what he cared about. Okay. Now, as much as I wasn't there for Thursday, you know where I was on Saturday? at
Where
the
were you?
Leafs game. I was working the Leafs game, and I'm there, and we are like, we're we're like, what's taking so long for puck drop here? All of a sudden, we realize they're giving John Tavares a standing ovation that's lasting like a minute and a half. Like,
Yeah,
good on the Maple Leafs for like not even just the Leafs fans. Like the management was even like, all right, guys, we're gonna say John Tavares' name last here. The players set it up so that he'd be alone at center ice. Like, wow, good on him.
well, it was John
Good,
Tavares' day in Toronto, so
yeah,
that
good
helps.
on him. So yeah, thanks Adam. Thanks
Like,
Adam Wild. That was nice. Um, so
like,
and even
I mean, I agree with the Tavares day, but like, I
even
mean,
better than that was he scores the first goal, and I have a video on my phone. I have never heard a louder cheer for a player who scored a goal and then he gets announced afterwards when, his 36 or whatever of the season scored by number 91 John Tavares. That crowd erupted. It's like a volcano in there, like it exploded. It was insane, man. I was almost tearing up. I'm like, I think this is what he deserves. Let people know that there are actually fans out there who appreciate his decision and love the fact he's going to be with us for the rest of this season and at least 6 more.
yeah, like I said on another podcast, if Austin Matthews were to leave after his 5-year contract, like I'm respecting his decision. He's doing it for the benefit of himself. Like I'm not going to get mad at him for doing the thing he thinks is right. Like I'm not going to boo him. I'm not going to throw stuff at him. That's just he dedicated 5, 7 years of his life to Toronto, and he played the best hockey of his career, arguably. Like I'm not going to boo a player just because they leave. Like like people still boo Phil Kessel when he comes here. I don't agree with it because he was the best player in those like what 8 years he's been here,
I'm
six
not going to
years.
boo Austin Matthews if he leaves after the next 5 years. I think
Exactly.
it's okay to be upset. I think it's okay to be hurt. I think it's okay to even feel betrayed. I really do. But you don't have to boo him. If he came back and I was ever at the
No.
game where he came back, I would still give if he gives his heart. Like if he plays the next 5 years of his career with his heart, and we're going to be able to tell that as fans if he's quitting on this team. And I'm not here to make assumptions. I think Austin Matthews will leave for life, but if he gives his heart out for the next 5 years, say we win a cup, even if we don't win a cup, and he decides free agency, hey, there's a better fit for me on another team, I'm gonna go. Um, I don't think it's gonna happen. I really don't. I don't.
It wouldn't make sense
Even
if the
if
Leafs are
even if
good
even if
still.
they're like not as good as they are right now, I think players. I think he's got a loyal character to him. I think his parents raised him right. I think he's looking around the league at these superstars like not like we're not talking like the Tavares and the Stamkos. We're talking about the Crosbys, the McDavids, the people who make long term commitments to one franchise. And if he wants his banner raised on the rafters one day, and he wants to be the greatest Leaf of all time, he's going to stay. And I think that's what he wants. He wants to go down in history as the greatest Leaf. But that's not really a conversation we need to get into today. That's like 5 years down the road, guys. We got
Yeah,
5 more years.
exactly.
We got for over
Yep.
5 times 82, 160, over 300 more games. Relax. He's going to get his 500th point with us. He's going to get all these accomplishments with us. He'll be fine. Let's move on from John Tavares and let's move on to, even though it was John Tavares' day in Toronto, there were a lot of people of a certain other Canadian city that was not happy that Leafs fans were trying to overtake somebody else's day.
Yeah, I don't
I
think it
don't
should
think
have
it did.
taken over the day because Jerome
I
Iginla
don't
got
think
his
it
number
did. I don't think it
retired.
took over the
So
day, but as we all know, Jerome Iginla gets his number retired by the Calgary Flames. What a captain! What a guy! What a leader! Um, I mean, what else can you say besides?
best player in franchise history, most goals, most power play goals, most points. Like he's the best player in franchise history for the Flames. I think Flames
My
fans would agree with
my
that. So
favorite article I read about Jerome McGinley the past couple days, I think it was on the Athletic, and it was talking about how Jerome McGinley, he obviously was a superstar. This guy scored a bunch of goals. He was a great player, but he was one of the last ever like superstars that you could say he's a grinder. Like he was a grinder superstar. He was able to score and get points, but he was the nastiest player in the corner. He hit. He got under people's skin. You see a lot. You see superstars that you look at like Brad Marchand, but Brad Marchand's not a grinder. I think he's a pest if that's a player type. But like I don't think he's a grinder. Like Jerome Iginla, like will go into any situation. He'll fight. He'll hit hard. He'll go into the corner and scrap it out. Like he was a grinder who could score at will, put up points at will, and was super super talented. And he was one of maybe the last ever grinder superstars. And the way that they described it's obviously way better than the way I'm describing it. But it was really interesting to read. And I'm like, that's like facts. Like it really is.
Yeah, he was a really good player, man. Like he can score and he could hit you and he can fight you and he could piss you off
That's
anytime.
exactly
Like
what
he was the
that's
face of
exactly
the
what
Flames,
happened.
man. Like
And you know what? It's a shame that he never got that Stanley Cup. Uh,
yeah, that
I
sucks.
think he really wanted it. I don't. I think leaving Boston. I mean, leaving Calgary to go to Boston was extremely difficult decision. Well, he went to Pittsburgh.
Well, actually, he went from
Pittsburgh, yeah.
Calgary to Pittsburgh.
But there was a lot of rumors he'd be going back to Calgary in the offseason, go back. Um, I don't think it's as difficult for a player on an expiring contract to leave in February and then go out, play and try to win a cup. That's not super difficult. I think if the player loves the city, he'll go out, try to win a cup, and then come back. But to decide to stay with his gut. But, oh well. So, congratulations to Jerome Iginla. It's not John Tavares' day. Maybe in Toronto it was, but in the hockey world, it was Jerome Iginla's day. He deserved it. He earned it. He fought his way to it, and nobody else will ever wear his number again for the Calgary Flames, and that's a special thing. So
Yep. He wasn't even drafted by the Flames. He was drafted by Dallas and got traded for Joe
and
Nieuwendyk. So remember that.
it's a big trade. Think Joe Nieuwendyk's a hell of a player, so it's pretty flattering to be traded for Joe Nieuwendyk. So good for the Calgary Flames for retiring Jerome Iginla's number.
It was well deserved and
Yeah,
it was
it was
coming. So I
absolutely
mean,
coming. We just didn't know when. So it came. I forget who they were playing. Minnesota.
Yeah, and they put up a stinker of a game. Especially Mike Smith put up a stinker of a game to ruin that
Yeah.
night. So
It was, and there was a hit by
good for
somebody
Mike
on the
Smith.
Flames. I forget who it was.
Yeah, Garnet Hathaway and Luke Cunnin.
Man, but my buddy sent me that video of the hit right afterwards. Like, dude,
Yeah, that's a suspension.
you drilled his head into the boards. Whatever. Exactly. Everything you got on Monday night from a certain Canadian team was deserving after that hit. Anyway, moving on. Moving on. Let's talk a little bit about oh man, my roommate's gonna love this. He's a big fan of this player and this team.
It's another pure goal scorer.
I would consider him a good pure goal scorer. This is guy on the Capitals. He's number 8. I think you've probably heard of him. Alexander Ovechkin. A couple years ago, my roommate asked me, and I remember this conversation. He said, "Is Alexander Ovechkin the greatest pure goal scorer of all time?" I said, "God, he's up there." But like, you look at Mike Bossy, you look at Maurice Richard, you look at some of the pure goal scorers in the history of hockey. Who their main thing was just scoring goals. I'm like, yeah, he's top 5. Guys, he might be number 1. He might be the greatest pure goal scorer of all time here. That is, like, I'm pulling up the stats right now, but I believe he got another goal. Yes, yeah. He's at 46 goals, and it's March 7th.
7th.
There's a decent possibility he gets 55 to 60 goals.
Yeah, I'd say around 55.
55 goals.
Yeah.
However, we're talking about Alexander Ovechkin. He needs 9 goals in the next. How many games? There's easily over 16 games.
16
9
games.
goals. Guys,
Yep.
Alexander Ovechkin is not out of the realm of getting a hat trick one night. If he gets a hat trick next game, he's at 49 with like 15 goals, 15 games left. I don't think people
It's
talk about
crazy.
this enough. It's a long shot because
They honestly
because
don't
14
talk about
goals in the
enough.
next 16, 17 games is tough. But I don't think people are talking enough about the possibility of 60 goals at the age of what, 33?
Yep, 33, turning 34 in next September.
I
Yeah, man. A
also
lot
I
of a
also
lot of
don't
people said
think
he was done.
I don't have his stats here. I'm gonna pull it
Oh,
up.
I do.
No, but my friend Kyle mentioned this to me, and I still think it's ludicrous, but I think it's worth talking about. He's played 1,069 nice games. Okay, he's 33. He doesn't miss a lot of games. The speed will go, the strength will go, the endurance might go. His shot will probably still be there until he's like, I don't know, 38. He's got a wicked shot. He doesn't need to fly down the ice at the speed he did when he was 26 and bulldoze people. He needs to set up at the one
Clearly
timer
not.
spot. If you know, on the
Exactly.
power
On the
play, he
power
can
play.
just enter in the zone and fire a shot. He's at 653 goals. By the end of the season, he'll probably be at 660. 660 at 33. If he puts up
Yeah, that passed
if he
Brendan
puts up
Shanahan for
40
13th.
goals next season, he's at 700 goals.
Yeah, he passed. He goes to seventh
Yeah,
all time, or
before
sixth.
he's
Yeah, eighth all time.
35. Guys, if this guy stays healthy and he goes till 40, doesn't need to be a dime. He's not going to score 50 goals at 30. I mean, sorry, yeah, no, he's not going to score 50 goals at 40. But if he's scoring, it's a long shot. But if he gets 40 for the next 2, maybe 3 seasons, and then when he's 37 and 38, he goes down to 30 and 30. And even when he's 40, he gets like 25. You're almost, you're not quite. In my opinion, I'm still against this. It's not going to happen. But you got to start thinking in the next couple of years, people are going to be saying, could this guy knock on the door of Wayne Gretzky for
I think he can.
893? 4.
894.
I don't think it's going to happen. I still think he's going to end up as the second most goals in NHL history. I do think that. Cody Howard 801. He's at second. I think Ovechkin's got that in the bag. If he stays healthy, Ovechkin's got that in the bag. 801, he's going to get that. It's getting to the close to the 900s. I'm like, I don't know if he has the endurance, but every time I doubt him, he got 50 last year. 49.
Well,
Sorry.
49.
I thought I gave him 45 this year. He's got 46 again with more than a dozen games left. I gotta stop doubting this player. He's too good. He's far too good.
Yeah, he needs one more point to 1,200 points
So
as well.
like Hall of Fame, we know we know all this, but for I'm excited that in my lifetime, I don't think it's gonna happen, but we're gonna start having people are gonna start talking in the media world about the possibility of seeing the greatest goal scorer ever, pure goal scorer. I think he's gonna get that too. He's gonna get that title. Gretzky wasn't a pure goal scorer. He was a playmaker. Yes, he got almost 900 goals. Guy got over almost 2,000 assists. Like he's not a pure goal scorer. Ovechkin has 546 assists. He's not a puck hog by any standards, but like pure goal scorer. Yeah, Alexander Ovechkin.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago that like a lot of NHL fans, like when the Caps weren't winning any cups and they weren't getting past the Pittsburgh Penguins, everyone's like, "Oh, they should trade Ovechkin. He's not doing anything. Oh, he's not scoring anymore. He put up 33 goals." And now those people look like complete fill in
And
the
those were
blanks.
off years. What if he was still putting up 40, 45 goals in those seasons? Because the coach, the
Well,
coach,
there's only
well,
one
yeah,
season,
but the
but
coach kind of focus on the defense more, focus on this. Imagine the coach was like, go out there. in your prime, still go out there and just give us goals. He could have got 50 that year. Then he's up another like 15 from what he is right now. Then he's already at almost 670 right now. He's probably getting 680, 80. Like it's incredible to think that like we got to see this guy. There's going to be a lot of people, our kids, people, people being born right now. We're going to be able to say we saw Alexander Ovechkin in his prime, and it's pretty special. We're not going to make this a podcast too long today. Not a super eventful week in the AHL, but one last thing we're going to chat about a little quickly is it's March 7th, as Thomas just recently reinstated. There's a team that has a chance to clinch a playoff spot, and it's, again, only March 7th. That team is the Buffalo City. No, it's the Tampa Bay Lightning. Thomas, can you explain to us what needs to happen for that to be effective?
Yeah, I saw on Twitter that Columbus needs to lose in regulation, Montreal needs to lose in regulation, and Tampa needs to record a point or get a win. That's what I saw briefly. I'm pretty sure that those are the regulations for what needs to happen.
Tampa needs to win.
Yeah.
This is according to the NHL.com. Tampa Bay will clinch if they defeat the Minnesota Wild and the Montreal Canadiens lose in regulation, or the Columbus Blue Jackets lose in regulation, or, my bad, I apologize. Montreal and Columbus would both have to lose in regulation for Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay win to clinch a playoff berth. Not out of the question.
Yeah, that's what I stated.
Also,
I don't know,
Tampa
20
gets
seconds
1
ago.
point against Minnesota. They lose in overtime, and they would still clinch if Montreal and Columbus lose in regulation.
They just need to get a point tonight.
They need to get a point, and the Blue Jackets in Montreal need to lose in regulation. Like this, we knew this team was going to make the playoffs by November. This is not a surprise. They're going to clinch. They're probably not far away from clinching first in the Atlantic.
They're so good.
It's tough to make a playoff bracket and not pick this team to win. It's really tough. I know that it's very odd that a team that has the best of a regular season wins a cup. It's very rare that happens. But I don't remember in the past decade having a first place team be this dominant over the second place team. Like their gap is so big.
Yeah, Chicago was the last team to win the President's Trophy and win the Cup in the same season.
And in that season.
And that was a short year.
And even in that season, I don't remember Chicago being this dominant.
Well, they were this dominant. They won 23 games in a row.
Did they win or did they get a point in 23 games?
I'm pretty sure they got a point or won in 23 consecutive games.
So maybe they were that dominant, but
yes, they were.
Yeah. So
know your facts, Justin. Know your facts.
Sorry, I tried to erase that whole lockout shortened season because I didn't like the way it started, and I definitely didn't like the way it ended for my team. So, basically, I just forgot about that entire year.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't like the lockout. That was not a fun couple months. Didn't like the way we ended it in Game 7, and I didn't like the fact that Mike Kosko was our first pair of defensemen. Anyway,
yeah, Tampa's got a lot of skilled forwards. Kucherov's at 108 points. He could easily hit 120. He's a
Kucherov's had an incredible season. I almost chirped the guy in my fantasy pool who picked him like 5th overall, and I have not lived that one down. Anyway, there really wasn't a lot else to talk about, so I think that's likely going to be it for this week. We'll be back next. We're going to have a couple little fun events moving forward. I think it's not an official win. I think Thomas and I have talked about doing a Seattle expansion type of podcast where we kind of build our own Seattle team with the teams.
Yeah, when does that come out for Cap Friendly?
It's out.
They usually release that soon.
Yeah,
it's out.
So
okay. So we'll do that next week.
We'll talk about when we're gonna do it, and we'll have obviously after that week. I mean, the playoff race is gonna get super down to the nitty gritty. We're gonna be in the final 6-7 games, so there's gonna be lots to talk about possible playoff matchups for certain teams. The only one right now that I'm gonna be honest about that is pretty much set in stone is Toronto and Boston. That's gonna happen right now. It's just a battle for second in the East. Boston's on a roll. However, they're only 2 points up on Toronto. It's anyone's game right now. to uh, to get. So that's going to be probably the big storyline between those two teams. But all the other, there's like none of the other matchups are set in stone, in my opinion. The wild card races in both divisions are super tight. So the first place teams will know who they're playing. Um,
Yeah, the West is pretty
exactly.
undecided
We're
right
not.
now.
We might not know right to the end, but in 2 weeks' time, we're going to probably have a better picture on who's playing who. The only one we really know right now is Toronto and Boston. So get ready for that series, and all the other ones we'll be talking about. Seattle expansion. We'll be talking about NHL awards. We're gonna get we'll have some good stuff, content to bring you guys, and then obviously when the playoffs start, that's content in itself. It's gonna be fun. Everyone loves playoff time, so um, thank you all for listening to this shortened podcast. I think we're just at about 26 minutes here. We'll be coming back to you guys next week. For Thomas and myself, thank you all so much for listening to the JT Puck Talk podcast on episode 5, not 6, 5. And we'll see you guys all back here next time. Enjoy the week of hockey.